Hey guys, Rock and Roll back with another Hero Colosseum match, once again against a lower level player. I try to not use these videos much so often as I can, but this person played really well. They had an interesting deck. It obviously wouldn't have been fully leveled at this point, but they put up a very good fight and, you know, they stayed into the end, so I thought I'd just show it off and give a quick shout out to my opponent. So my Beerus deck, it's all about, as a lot of my decks are at the minute, it's about going second. So you've got Beerus, Whis, Gogeta and Super Saiyan 4 Goku all running up second skills, with Jiren being my 0-1 skiller to use at the end. Now Beerus is supposed to be the star of this, and everything else is centered around keeping him alive. So you've got Whis and Goku there reducing the damage he'll take. Now, Beerus can usually survive any one figure now, and he usually one-shots them back since he hits for pure damage as he avoids their defenses, so he's actually been a lot better than I was expecting in recent matches, but you've really got to build the deck around him, and I think this is the best way you can do it. Funny thing is, I haven't been facing many Piccolos when I've been using Beerus, which is the exact figure I've been trying to counter by using him, but it's you know, it's whatever. But anyway, my opponent's throwing down a Broly, a Vegito, and a Gohan, I believe that is. Now that's a pretty frightening lineup. There's a lot of speed there and a lot of power, except there's not a lot of speed. I'm lying. How is there that little speed there? They're obviously not very highly leveled figures because my opponent's a lower level, but regardless, Broly on his own is pretty fast, though if he was using the health version, that might explain a bit. But anyway, I'm going second, so this will be the death of Vegito will die, and there's a good chance that Gohan down the middle will die as well. Beerus is just a monster. He really is. I did put him recently on my top 7 figures that need to be sort of changed, and I still believe he does. I don't think he would be able to force his way into top decks because there's just so many good figures. If you look at the trigger square, you put Beerus in, you're saying, okay, I don't want to run Vados, I don't want to run Ultra Instinct Goku. It's very hard to justify him, and when you're running somebody who only works on or triggers on one square, it kind of just makes you a bit predictable with certain figures. So I like Beerus, but he's not good enough at the minute. If you look here, he's just going to absolutely obliterate Vegito. 7,000 damage, I mean, that's what made Beerus just so vicious when he was new. Sort of when the game started, he was hitting everything, it didn't matter what it was. Unless there was a Whis on the field, of course. He was hitting everything for 7,000. He one-shotted almost every figure, apart from the high health ones. It's what made Beerus good and unique. So my opponent's thrown down Vegeta Blue and Broly, who live because Whis hits like a wet paper bag. But this turn it was a bit more tanky though, I was expecting, really, out of the, I think it was the Vegeta down the middle. But, I mean, Broly's obviously going to take care of that blue Vegeta. I don't even care about Spirit Bomb in there. I had 2 games earlier today, sort of and in both games my opponent got the Spirit Bomb before me. The Spirit Bomb hates me. Don't ask me why, but for some reason it hates me. I am not allowed to have nice things, like the Spirit Bomb. It nearly cost me a game earlier as well. Luckily I was using my Merged Zamasu deck again, and the health and sustain you get off of that deck is just ridiculous. So I was able to survive the turn and win that match as well. So he's outspared, thankfully, as usual. Vegeta actually probably kills for Super Saiyan 4 Goku here. Counter-attack? No! My bad, I thought that Vegeta would get the kill there. I mean, like I say, I know his figures aren't particularly leveled up, but Vegeta is a very hard-hitting figure. Also, why... I don't know why my opponent put Broly over on that side and this Vegeta on this one. If he put them the other way around, it would have made more sense. If he got a direct hit on my Master and his Broly would have done just as much damage to Beerus. So that's Broly dead. Super Vegeta will die. Because Goku's got more than enough in the tank to kill him. And Vegeta will probably die as well. Yep. So, GG. Played well, to be honest. I mean, a few dodgy choices, but obviously, I mean, when you're that level, playing against somebody with a much higher deck is insanely difficult. But, got time for a second match, so I'll cut to that. Okay, second match, guys. This time against somebody a bit more in my level, Master Level 88, Malvin. So, this was a good match as well. I want to highlight this one especially because my opponent used an all Vegeta deck, which meant he had Margin Vegeta, Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, the new SR Vegeta, that's Blue Vegeta, both kinds of Blue Vegeta. So, full credit to the guy for theming it around that. I have a lot of respect for that, even though he used the worst figure in the game. This deck usually sets up pretty much the same way every time. Sometimes I'll throw down the Gogeta behind Beerus, just to make sure I clear out that side. But usually I throw the Goku down here as well. So I was surprised to see somebody running a Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta. So full credit to the guy. I mean, it's an awful figure, so you're doing it for the lols when you're doing that. You're just doing it to have a bit of fun. So we threw down Margin Vegeta, the new Blue Vegeta, and the SR Vegeta. I like that Super Red Vegeta. It's a very good figure, very underrated. I've got another battle coming out, hopefully, where my opponent actually uses 3 of the things, which it didn't surprise me when this battle started because my opponent is a very strong player. But that's a spoiler for a future episode. Anyway, so I'm obviously going to go second here. He has a very fast Vegeta deck as opposed to my bunch of slow people. So I never really have to worry about that. I don't think this deck ever outspeeds anyone unless they go deliberately slow. And I mean, they have to go deliberately slow, like just put one figure down. Is there a way I can just skip the Spirit Bomb phase every turn now? Because it doesn't matter. I never get it, so that's a very fast deck that Malvin's got there. So that's just going to protect Whis a bit more. I was worried for Whis because that is the new Blue Vegeta up against him. And that thing hits like a truck. Of course it is the speed version, so it doesn't do quite as much damage, but it's still a very hard hitting figure. This is good as well because Beerus is going to get a straight hit on the Master, which is kind of what he was in the deck for. He's there to hit the opponent's Master for between 7 and 9 damage. It seems to vary, I don't really know why. I was a little worried for Whis here, even though I knew that I had the reductions and everything. It was still Blue Vegeta, and he gets the counter attack, so he's going to take down over half of my health. Which isn't ideal, but just saying, if he'd had the other version of Blue Vegeta, he'd have knocked me out. Goku takes that like a champ. I do like the Margin figure. I have to admit, I did forget him in my 7 figures that need a rework. Although, in that sense, what Margin Vegeta needs is 2 limit breaks put onto his figure. Actually, 3 limit breaks. To go to SR, UR, and then level 99. Because he should have an ultra rare figure for Margin Vegeta. Could be awesome. And to be honest, with his ability, he's probably one of the ones that if he had an ultra rare figure could push into the meta at the minute. If he just sort of amped up his posing skill a little bit along with his stats. But in this instance, he just gets Kamehameha to the face. And we'll do 7,700, I think, was it this time? No, 6,800. You just can't tell what you're gonna get. That does mean I'm gonna do over 10k altogether though with that counter attack. So certainly won't complain at that. Good first turn. Took down 2 of his figures. Like I say, shout out again to the guy using an all Vegeta deck, especially when you actually put the Super Saiyan 4 one in. That's admirable. You gotta say that, it's admirable. Ill-advised, but admirable. I wasn't really too concerned with whatever Malvin could do. I just sort of sat as I was. There was no reason to change around my figure positions at all. So, Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta will die this turn. Although, actually, kind of depends. If I get outsped, which I probably will, Whis will die. But I will kill his SR Vegeta, and my Goku will hit his master. To be honest, at this point, I knew that it was GG, as long as I didn't do anything ridiculously stupid, which isn't outside of the realms of possibility. But I still had 5, he had 3. I was going to knock out at least 1 more figure this turn. There wasn't too much of a threat there. I want to play this guy some more though, because anybody who will willingly go into a game with sort of decks like this is good. Also, this was in player match, and that's where decks like this should be. I will admit, I've been running not like the most try-hard decks around, not the Vegeta, Whis, Ultra Instinct Goku ones, things along that line with Future Gohan or 1 skills, but I've been running my stronger decks in player matches recently, just because everyone else does. But if more people were running decks like this, I would be running gimmicky decks all day long. And Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta nearly proved himself useful then. But there goes Whis, unfortunately. Means I'll only kill 1 of his figures this turn, but that's fine. I've got all this damage down on his master. And I love Beerus. I really do love this figure. They need massive change-ups. I mean, DLC 8, whenever that does come out, although I think that's next year when we'll get the update to Hero Colosseum, they need to change a lot of figures. They need to change some of the current ones, and they need to bring in ones that counter the current ones. I'm not going to make a whole video on what I'd like to see in DLC 8, because that's in the coming year. It's too early to be talking about that stuff. It's too early to be talking about Christmas and people are already doing that. Like, Christ. Like, maybe sometime in the new year, as it gets a bit closer, I'll sort of give my verdict on what I'd like to see in the DLC, but until then, nah. I'm not going to get overexcited. That's if we even get a sort of an update to the Hero Colosseum. Wish they would, and I wish they'd throw tournaments into it. Not that I'd do any good, not with players like Son Santana and some of the other top players out there. They'd obviously win, but it'd just be nice to play some proper competitive games and also have consequences for people who rage quit. Also, I went first this time because it didn't really matter. But with that would be GG. Shout out once again to both my opponents, especially Malvin here for running this Vegeta deck. Have a lot of respect for somebody who does that, so thank you all for watching. Thank you to both my opponents one final time, both for staying in and giving me a couple of games. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you have, please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't for some more of my Hero Colosseum videos. And with this dance of victory, I'll see you all next time.